Welcome back to Foresight Bureau. If you haven't seen our previous videos in the AI Job Apocalypse series, be sure to check them out. We covered what you can do now to protect your future. We also assessed which white and blue-collar jobs are most at risk, and predicted when humanoid robots will enter the workplace. We also looked into what implications automation might have on wealth inequality. In this episode, we'll consider how making investments in corporations that operate throughout the AI and robotics supply chain could enable you to profit from the emerging machine economy. The machine economy refers to a network of automated machines that engage in economic activities with minimal human intervention. We predict an emerging economic framework where autonomous devices, AI systems, and smart machines independently exchange data, trade resources, and transfer value. This system will evolve as innovation advances in edge computing, machine learning, embedded sensors, and energy storage. Enabling technologies like blockchain, cryptocurrency, and smart contracts will be essential to facilitate secure, efficient, and autonomous financial interactions between machines. It will boost global GDP significantly and usher in a golden era of wealth, prosperity, and abundance. However, the wealth created by it will not be distributed evenly. So it is vital to act now in order to obtain a stake in what may become the opportunity of a lifetime. So whether you're a seasoned professional or a retail investor, this video will provide an overview of what we believe will become a multi-trillion-dollar investment opportunity. But before we do, let's start by asking why now? The imminent arrival of artificial general intelligence, or AGI, is due to a convergence of technological advancements and favorable circumstances. Key factors include the dramatic increase in computational power, the explosion of big data for training, breakthroughs in machine learning algorithms, particularly deep learning and neural networks, and the scalability offered by cloud computing. Additionally, advancements in transfer learning, natural language processing, and reinforcement learning have pushed AI capabilities to the point where it will soon massively exceed human intelligence. Also, substantial funding from both the private and public sector, along with interdisciplinary collaboration, has accelerated research and development. The reason why AGI will revolutionize the world is that it will be able to outperform even the smartest humans and therefore drive unprecedented innovation across industries, accelerating advancements in technology and scientific research. AGI's capacity for continuous, high-level problem-solving and decision-making will boost productivity and lead to the creation of a new economic paradigm. It will improve personalized services and address complex global challenges, fundamentally altering the fabric of society. Elon Musk predicts that AGI could become a reality by next year at the earliest, or certainly by 2026. He also believes that Tesla's Optimus humanoid robot will become so affordable that almost every home will have one.
It's not next year, let's say 2026 at the latest for AGI. At the latest. I hope it's nice to us. So, when defines AGI as smarter than any human, I think we're less than 24 months away from that. Yeah, please be nice to us, AGI. Humanoid robots will usher in a level of abundance that was hard to imagine. There will be no shortage of goods and services. Yeah, Optimus can be your bodyguard. Yeah, people will have Optimus in their home. I think probably everyone's going to have an Optimus. Maybe more than one. The price of Optimus, I mean, ultimately, I think Optimus is probably like $20,000 or something like that, maybe 30 at volume production.
Companies like Boston Dynamics, Tesla, and others that are currently at the forefront of robotics will completely redefine work and daily life as we know it. The potential commercial opportunity is so big that, according to Musk, Optimus will generate more revenue than its electric vehicle business unit. Here's Elon Musk explaining his plans for Optimus.
And I'm confident of the prediction that there will be more, like the ratio of humanoid robots to humans will be greater than 1-to-1. So there'll be more than 10 billion humanoid robots in the world, probably 20 or more. And Tesla's going to be by far the leader in that. You're seeing a lot of robot startups. But I think it's actually very challenging to do Optimus as a robot startup, because what we found, to make Optimus work, we've had to design from first principles, from scratch, every part of the robot. So the motors, the gearbox, the sensors, the power electronics, the communication system, everything had to be done from scratch. We found that there's basically nothing. There's no supply chain. So even though there are many electric motors made in the world, there's no supply chain for the types of motors and sensors and gearboxes that are needed for a humanoid robot.
He then goes on to predict that if Optimus were to be deployed at scale, Tesla could become a $25 trillion business.
I agree with the ARK Invest analysis that autonomous transport is called sort of a $5 to $7 trillion market cap situation. Optimus, I think, is a literally $25 trillion market cap situation.
So that's why many believe that the robotics sector is about to explode. It's important to state that Musk does have a reputation for making wild predictions. However, even if his timelines are often wrong, in most cases his predictions do eventually come true. So we believe that Tesla will indeed be the first to make embodied artificial general intelligence a reality, and we predict that they will be capable of producing Optimus at scale within 5 years. However, at the time of making this video, the consensus view on prediction marketplace, Manifold, is that AGI will not arrive until 2029 and that OpenAI will be first. What is meant by embodied artificial general intelligence or embodied AGI is the process of embedding software into a humanoid form factor that makes it more intelligent than even the smartest, most productive humans on the planet. A quick disclaimer before we continue. Nothing in this video should be considered as financial advice, so before making any investment decisions, it is important to speak to a qualified financial advisor. Also, don't forget that Tesla is not the only show in town. Musk does provide a very compelling rationale for why Tesla is uniquely positioned to dominate the market, as according to him it possesses an unassailable lead over its competitors. However, as covered in Part 3, there are plenty of other very well-funded competitors that are making significant progress. Regardless of whether the next generation of robots will be made primarily by Tesla or one of its competitors, there's no doubt that the world as we know it will change beyond all recognition. Robots like Optimus will be able to operate around the clock, and this will result in massive productivity gains that will have a hugely positive impact on global GDP. Raoul Pal is a prominent macroeconomist and investment strategist known for his insights on global financial markets and cryptocurrencies. His exponential age thesis is extremely compelling. He argues that the impending global debt crisis will be exacerbated by a toxic combination of a rapidly aging population that will lead to a sharp decline in productivity and the inevitable collapse of the entire global financial and economic system. However, as AI and robotics will be able to scale knowledge and physical labor infinitely, he believes disaster will be averted as we won't need humans to provide the level of growth that is required to escape the current debt spiral.
That without capita people, you have no GDP. And with a shrinking global population, GDP growth collapses. So you have to solve that equation, and the only answer is the robots and the AI. Because the current narrative is the robots are taking our jobs. When the narrative is so strong, I'd start to explore what is the other narrative, because this is an obvious narrative. Of course it's going to take jobs.
Pal warns that this will radically change our world as we know it and stresses that we only have 6 years to prepare before this transformation occurs.
I've explained to many people that GDP growth is driven by population growth, productivity growth, and debt growth. Debt growth stopped in 2008. It's now just repayments of old debts. Population growth is slowing down or shrinking across the entire Western world, plus Southeast Asia, plus China. So we've got slowing growth, we've got massive debts. That's the big problem we're in. And they've been debasing currency to deal with it. But we have AI, which is infinite human mind knowledge. Knowledge is going to be free and ubiquitous. The robots, whether it's Optimus, whether it's Figure, whether it's whatever else Amazon is using, are going to be everywhere. What that means is you have infinite population growth in an economy. Infinite population growth means, what the hell does that mean to GDP growth? And if you lower the cost of electricity, you increase productivity growth. So you start to get bananas outcomes with the economy. What happens when AGI comes? The all-seeing, all-knowing AI. What are financial markets at that point? Surely the AGI just wins all financial markets. By 2030, I think we're coming into a world that nobody understands, and economic models will not work anymore. I don't even know what money is in a world of infinite abundance. 2030, things are going to start feeling really, really weird, and we won't know why the economy is growing so fast, but jobs aren't growing. Why the economy is growing so fast, but something's not happening right with companies. Why do things feel dislocated? This is what is to come. And I think we've got 6 years to make as much money as possible, so we can just observe it from the beach drinking a cocktail.
So it's clear that the machine economy does face some significant challenges. However, Raoul Pal clearly believes that the opportunities far outweigh the risks. He also stated that we only have around 6 years to secure our financial futures before we all lose our jobs and the financial system gets taken over by AI. He emphasized the importance of cryptocurrency, but he didn't explain why it will become so important, so we'll go into that in more detail in a moment. Examples of risk include the fact that rapid technological progress almost always outpaces regulatory frameworks, and that creates uncertainty. Also, public unease about artificial intelligence is intensifying, as exemplified by the creative community's pushback against Sora, the groundbreaking AI-powered image and video generation tool developed by OpenAI. This sentiment extends beyond artists, with surveys revealing widespread apprehension about AI and its potentially negative impacts on employment, social disparities, and its potential weaponization. The growing chorus of concern reflects a broader societal anxiety about the rapid advancement and far-reaching implications of AI technology. Another problem, at least in the short term, is the lack of skilled professionals in AI and robotics, making it difficult for companies to find and retain top talent. However, in the not-too-distant future, software engineering and AI training will be done by autonomous agents within simulated environments, so this will become less of an issue. Another challenge that's worth considering is that developing and implementing advanced solutions is very capital-intensive, posing barriers for smaller companies. For this reason, it is likely that incumbents will use this to their advantage by erecting defensive moats in order to reinforce their market positions. This potential entrenchment strategy may reduce competition, and therefore the speed of innovation. Another risk to consider relates to ongoing geopolitical tensions, particularly between the US and China over Taiwan. If China did attempt to reunify Taiwan by force and war broke out in the region, the potential impact on the global semiconductor supply chain would be catastrophic. To mitigate this risk, there is a substantial effort by Western countries to onshore chip manufacturing. This initiative has led to massive investments from both private and public sectors into the semiconductor industry.
As of 2021, 92% of the world's most advanced chips were made in Taiwan by Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, and China has repeatedly threatened to invade Taiwan, a move that could cut the US off from the majority of advanced chips.
One thing that we've learned with international hostilities, and that is we can't be relied upon hostile countries for our everyday needs. So the United States of America needs to make sure that we are manufacturing everything that we need. We learned that during the time of COVID, and we shall not make that mistake again.
Over the last 30 plus years, the US share of global chip production has plummeted from 37% to just 12%. That's because it costs at least 20% more to build and operate a new fab in the US than in Asia. Labor is cheaper there, the supply chain is more accessible, and government incentives are far greater. The CHIPS Act aims to change that, setting aside $52 billion for companies to manufacture in the US, and Texas hopes to get as much of those federal dollars as possible. Since the National CHIPS Act was introduced in 2020, more than 50 new semiconductor projects have been announced in the US, creating some 44,000 new jobs and totaling more than $210 billion of investment. More than $61 billion of that is happening in Texas, with 6 projects expected to create more than 8,000 jobs.
If onshoring efforts are successfully completed before any conflict arises, or if diplomatic measures can prevent an invasion altogether, the risk of supply chain disruption will be significantly reduced or potentially eliminated. With that said, let's now focus on investment opportunities, starting with raw materials. That's because resources such as gold, silver, copper, lithium, silicon, cobalt, and rare earth elements are the base ingredients that are used to fabricate and power AI and robotics. In addition to adding a variety of these commodities to your portfolio, it would also be worth considering companies that extract and process them. Examples of stocks worth considering are Corning Incorporated, as it owns Hemlock Semiconductor, as well as MP Materials, Albemarle, Glencore, Rio Tinto, and Southern Copper, to name but a few. The next sector worth considering is energy. The growth of the machine economy hinges on the availability of abundant, reliable, and clean energy sources. Data centers, which serve as the backbone of AI and cloud computing, consume vast amounts of energy. Failure to address these energy demands through clean and sustainable means could result in significant environmental degradation and exacerbate the challenges posed by climate change. Goldman Sachs research reveals that a single ChatGPT query consumes 2.9 watt-hours of electricity. That's nearly 10 times more than a Google search. Due to the rapid adoption of AI, they project a 160% surge in data center power demand by 2030. However, this forecast may be woefully inaccurate if they did not include the machine economy. That's because it's not just humans that will need access to cloud-based AI services. Autonomous machines and robots will not be able to function without constant access to data and processing power in order to perform basic functions and interact with their physical environments. If so, the actual total energy demand could far exceed Goldman Sachs' prediction of between 1,000 and 1,200 terawatt-hours. So it is clear that the global transition to sustainable clean energy is expected to attract trillions of dollars from governments and the private sector. Therefore, investing in renewables such as wind, solar, hydro, geothermal, and nuclear will not only generate substantial returns but also help fund the green energy transition. So look for utilities, power generation, and infrastructure stocks such as Entergy Corp, Southern Company, WEC Energy Group, NextEra Energy, Chemico, EQT Corporation, and Fluence Energy. Another group of companies worth consideration are those that are developing small modular reactors, which could revolutionize clean energy production. An SMR is a type of nuclear reactor that is smaller, more flexible, and potentially safer than traditional nuclear power plants. Several companies are at the forefront of SMR development, each with unique designs and approaches. Notable players in the SMR field include NuScale Power, Ultra Safe Nuclear Corporation, Radiant, Rolls-Royce SMR, GE Hitachi Nuclear Energy, and TerraPower. These companies are driving innovation in nuclear technology, aiming to address global energy needs while minimizing environmental impact. Let's now move on to energy storage. Up until now, robots have been primarily connected to mains power and used in static locations such as factories. However, the proliferation of autonomous machines, including humanoid robots, driverless cars, trucks, and delivery drones, will all demand high-capacity energy storage solutions that are capable of extending the duration between charges well beyond what is possible today. This will be crucial if the full potential of the mobile machine revolution is to be realized. For this reason, other stocks worth considering are American Battery Solutions, recently acquired by Komatsu, Tesla, and Wolfspeed. Next, let's look at some of the most hyped companies in the global supply chain. Of course, I'm referring to semiconductor designers and manufacturers, fabless chip designers such as Broadcom, Nvidia, which briefly became the world's most valuable company, Apple, Qualcomm, AMD, and MediaTek. These companies outsource production to integrated device manufacturers such as Texas Instruments, Samsung, Micron, Intel, ON Semiconductor, NXP, and ST Microelectronics, as well as foundries such as TSMC and Global Foundries. However, the concentration of fabless chip production in Taiwan, primarily with TSMC, presents a significant vulnerability to geopolitical disruptions as discussed earlier. While US-based fabs like Intel and Global Foundries are safely located far from mainland China, they currently lack the technological edge of their Taiwanese competitors. So while the chip sector is brimming with potential, it's important to tread carefully. That's because, in addition to geopolitical factors, the AI hype cycle has inflated valuations, making it crucial for investors to be selective. Focus on companies with solid fundamentals, as they are far more likely to weather any potential market correction. So even if there's a pullback, it is extremely likely that most stocks will recover, as this entire sector will continue to remain highly relevant and profitable over the long term. Before moving on to the next category of companies, let's quickly cover analog chips, as we think they'll become increasingly important. That's because companies like Analog Devices and Skyworks Solutions make different kinds of chips that are used by robots to process real-world inputs such as sound, light, temperature, and motion, and convert them into digital data that autonomous machines can interpret. Let's now move on to specialist gas suppliers like Air Liquide and Linde plc that provide gases such as argon and neon, which are essential for lithography and plasma etching, an integral part of the semiconductor fabrication process. Additionally, chemicals such as solvents and acids are needed that are produced by the likes of BASF and LG Chem. In addition, companies that handle and recycle waste products such as American Battery Technology Company and Umicore are becoming increasingly relevant as pressure grows on manufacturers to become more sustainable and environmentally conscious. The next link in the value and supply chain is where software and hardware merge to create the final product. As previously mentioned, we looked into which organizations are at the forefront of the robot revolution in part 3 of this series. Since making that episode, we concluded that the safest bets are ventures that have been able to obtain the best talent and establish a dominant position by possessing an abundance of training data. We therefore think paying a premium to invest in well-established entities is worthwhile. That's because having a significant head start over potential competitors is an important factor for future success. New entrants that can't afford to hire the best talent and lack access to vast amounts of data will really struggle to compete with well-funded first movers like OpenAI, Anthropic, and xAI, and incumbents like Alphabet, Microsoft, IBM, Meta, Tesla, Apple, and Amazon. You may have noticed that some of the most exciting cutting-edge AI and robotics companies mentioned throughout this episode are private, so most of you won't be able to buy their stock. However, in upcoming episodes, we'll discuss how everyday investors can potentially access pre-IPO company shares, an opportunity that has historically been exclusive to the very wealthy. The regulatory restrictions aimed at preventing people like you and me from buying pre-IPO stocks is intended to protect us, but it has inadvertently created an uneven playing field. That's because only high net worth individuals and venture capitalists have been allowed to access early-stage investments, often reaping enormous rewards at the expense of retail investors. This front-running of lucrative opportunities is viewed by many as unfair and unethical. As a result, investing in digital tokens and cryptocurrency instead of stocks is becoming far more popular, particularly among younger investors. That's because Web3 is democratizing access to early-stage investments, offering the potential for far greater returns compared to the stock market. And that leads us to our next link in the chain. Blockchain technology. This is an aspect of the machine economy that is crucial, yet often overlooked. High-throughput blockchain protocols designed specifically for machine commerce will become essential because autonomous machines cannot use traditional currency to pay for the microservices they need to function. cryptocurrencies like Sol, and Ethereum Layer 2 tokens like Matic, as well as tokens such as IOTA and IOTEX that have been designed specifically for this very purpose. They will enable robots to pay for things like computational resources, energy, data, and network access. Unlike conventional payment solutions, machine-to-machine transactions using cryptocurrency can be executed almost instantaneously anywhere in the world at near zero cost, in minuscule denominations of value. That's important because M2M transactions need to be completed within milliseconds and be worth as little as 1/10,000th of a cent, a speed and value that is nearly inconceivable in the context of human commerce, but entirely feasible for machines. In addition to the facilitation of microtransactions, blockchain protocols will be used to make possible all manner of machine-based products and services. One example is DPIN, which stands for Digital Physical Identity Networks. Projects like Peak and Helium are already developing frameworks that can enable machines to possess unique, verifiable digital identities. These identities will become essential for machine registration and compliance purposes, as well as for sharing information. For example, all kinds of commercial and governmental entities will need to access and verify critical data associated with each machine, such as its ownership status, mission and purpose, specifications, capabilities, maintenance records, location and activity history. By assigning immutable tamper-resistant identifiers to physical assets, DPIN will enable everything from humanoid robots and drones to autonomous vehicles to facilitate trillions of dollars worth of machine-based financial transactions globally, in a safe, secure manner as part of a rapidly growing global network of fully autonomous, self-sovereign artificially intelligent entities. This innovation will also enable entirely new business models to emerge. For example, blockchain-operated insurance services, asset monitoring and tracking, cybersecurity, as well as leasing and asset-backed finance services. Blockchain ventures such as Ondo Finance, Project Token Ondo, and Goldfinch, Project Token GFI, are already at the forefront of offering financial services for real-world blockchain-registered assets. Other projects and protocols that will become increasingly important are those that enable decentralized AI data processing. Examples include BitTensor, Project Token Tau, Artificial Superintelligence Alliance, Project Token FET, and AIOZ Network, Project Token AIOZ. These projects aim to even the AI playing field by changing the way AI systems are operated and deployed, because they offer an alternative to having to rely on an oligopoly of powerful AI incumbents that could end up controlling the world's AI compute. Unlike conventionally structured corporations, these protocols use tokens to reward participants for contributing their computing power and data to train and improve AI models. This approach democratizes AI development, allowing anyone with resources to participate and earn rewards based on the value they bring to the network. Before ending this episode, it's worth mentioning ETFs, or exchange-traded funds. Investing in ETFs is a good way to obtain diversified exposure to the machine economy. That's because they offer a way to invest in a basket of stocks, from well-established leaders to emerging players in the sector, so you don't need to worry about picking individual stocks yourself. Forbes recommends the following AI-focused ETFs: Vanguard Information Technology ETF, Fidelity MSCI Information Technology Index ETF, SPDR, S&P Kensho New Economies Composite ETF, iShares Robotics and AI Multi-Sector ETF, First Trust Nasdaq AI and Robotics ETF, Defiance Quantum ETF, Invesco AI and Next Gen Software ETF. A few of our favorites in no particular order that focus more on embodied AI are Global X Robotics and Artificial Intelligence ETF, ARC Innovation ETF, Robo Global Robotics and Automation Index ETF, and VanEck Vector's Semiconductor ETF. Before investing, it's important to consider the ETF's objectives, fees, and the specific stocks held by the fund to ensure it aligns with your investment strategy and risk tolerance. The machine economy is set to redefine our world. As investors, understanding its dynamics will enable you to make informed decisions and capitalize on this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. But before we wrap up this episode, I wanted to share an eye-opening post with you that I saw on X. The post, which got over 28,000 views, explains that we might only have a few short years left to avoid becoming uneconomically viable due to AI advancements. The post echoes insights from experts like Raoul Pal, who envision a future where AI and robots dominate, even controlling global finance. This isn't just theory, folks, it's a very real possibility. The post goes on to say that our ability to earn a living through work will shrink dramatically, similar to the impact of outsourcing but on a far larger scale. Imagine corporations wielding immense power thanks to their control of AI, leaving many workers out in the cold. While the 3 to 5 year timeline might be a bit extreme, the post urges us to take this threat seriously and start preparing now for the changes that are coming our way. And on that bombshell I bid you adieu. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon, and we'll see you next time. Disclaimer: this content is intended for entertainment purposes only. We do not guarantee the accuracy or completeness of the information provided. We are not responsible for any losses or damages that may arise. Nothing should be interpreted as investment or financial advice.